All right, Mr. Noel, you're here before the pardon board. You submitted an application for commutation of your sentence, and you were sentenced February of 2003 to a life sentence for a second-degree murder at a Lafayette parish. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Would you answer Mr. Wise, please? Mr. Wise, you're on mute.
You got arrested back in 2000 on 5/29/2000, and you were sentenced on 2/18/2003. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How old are you at this time?
59, sir.
You're 59 years old. I see the arrest. Tell the board today a little what happened during this case, during this time.
Well, the night, sir, I was walking at the store and I witnessed my girlfriend that we purchased this home together and inviting a gentleman in the house. And at that particular time, I pretty much lost it.
Yeah. Then what happened?
Well, the next day, I went to work and then went to using drugs, which I'm not using for excuse. And it looked like the problem just got worse for me. And in a rage, I went there and took her life.
Yeah. In front of your children?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When was your last disciplinary write-up?
2008.
2008?
Yes, sir.
I was looking at your arrest report when you got out on 82. You had an aggravated battery with a dangerous weapon, and they was I guess they dropped those charges. Then you had another distribution of cocaine. It was dismissed on 4/21/86, and then another one that was dismissed. And then you had the criminal trespass, and they charged you in 87. You pled guilty to the city court. What was that criminal trespassing? You over at her house or somebody's house? What happened there?
Was the house that I live in with my wife. And the landlord felt that I shouldn't have been on the premises.
Okay. Then I had aggravated battery, pled guilty back in 1996, simple battery. All this stuff here, the battery and the domestic battery, that's all with you and your wife, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What are some of the programs you've taken since you've been incarcerated?
Every program that they had, sir.
Yeah, I see that. I've looked over your record. I see you've taken a lot of programs. You set up as a low risk there, and it says you've had 3 disciplinary write-ups. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Where's the job you work at now? Where do you work at there on the farm?
Tractor repair, sir.
Tractor repair?
Yes, sir.
Warden Benoit, are you still around?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yes, sir. Could you tell us a little about Mr. Noel? He said he works over at the tractor place.
Right, he's a Class A trustee, he's a tractor mechanic. He lives at Camp F. He's only had 3 DB reports since he's been here. He got here in 2003. He's no problem, very quiet guy.
Yeah, I see that he had his $100 pre-release, thanking for a change, victim awareness, and his completion certificate. And his anger management programs, he's taken a lot of those programs. He's got a lot of programs in his file there. Is there anything else you have to add, Mr. Benoit?
No, sir, that's all.
Okay, sir. I don't have any other questions, Ms. Cheryl.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. Mr. Roche?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Noel. How are you?
Fine, sir. And yourself?
Good. Mr. Noel, before this incident occurred when you saw the gentleman walk into the house with your, it's your girlfriend or your former wife?
My girlfriend.
Okay,
Together for 10 years.
okay. And you had a string of violent arrests. Where did the violence come from? You had an arrest for aggravated battery with a dangerous weapon. You had a domestic abuse and a couple of other violent arrests. What have you done in the process of your incarceration to handle that anger problem?
Well, I took an anger management class, sir, to just pretty much deal with the anger, because I had a problem just dealing with people and talking, but then my biggest problem was drugs, which I'm not using that for the excuse.
So can you imagine the anger, frustration, the mental and emotional trauma those three girls went through when you attacked, kicked down the door, shot their mother, she ran out the house, and you point blank shot her in the head laying in the yard? Can you imagine the anger those young ladies have towards you?
Yes, sir. I mean, I'm still affected by right now by myself, sir. I'm still affected by it. So, because I could imagine what they're going through.
So, and you think that 21 years, actually less than 21 years, is sufficient retribution for an act in which you committed?
No, sir. I could never put time on taking someone's life. I'm just seeking, redemption.
Okay, but you're asking to be released from your original sentence and you want your sentence commuted so you can rejoin society. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir. I mean, I'm
Oh.
deeply sorry for my actions.
Okay. My last question. There was 3 daughters involved in the eyewitness of this offense. Were any of those girls your biological daughter?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Mr. Marabella?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Noel, just to follow up a little bit what Mr. Roche asked you, I'm looking at your criminal record and it appears that you've got some violence and drugs. Okay, so anger and drugs. You've taken some anger courses while you've been in prison and presumably some substance abuse courses while you've been in there. Tell me how you're going to handle your anger when you get out of prison. If you are released early and sometime in the future, what happens when you get angry again?
Well, sir, I learned to control that, sir. I no
Well,
longer
tell me how you control it.
I no longer think the way I do. See, back then I would just react without thinking. Now, through the self-help programs, I know how to control myself now.
Tell me how would you control yourself when you see something that angers you? You don't get mad at all?
No, I wouldn't put myself in that situation no longer, sir.
Well, I understand that, but there are never things that happen that make you angry. I mean, you can't ever take yourself out of a situation where you'll get angry. You're going to get angry. The
Yes, sir.
question is, what do you do with that anger?
I just don't act on it.
And how do you control that? What tools have you learned to be able to control that?
To walk away, sir. Think before I respond.
Okay. Let's talk about your drug use. How long you been using drugs before all of this happened?
I said since I was about 20 years old.
And what kind of drugs did you use?
Marijuana and cocaine.
Okay. And the night that this happened, or the day that this happened, what were you using? You said you were using drugs. What were you using?
Crack cocaine, sir.
And how long had you been using crack cocaine before this killing occurred?
I say about 3 years.
How often?
Well, on the weekends.
And you worked with before that?
Yes, sir.
Kind of work did you do?
I did cement work. Worked for the cemetery, Martin and Castiles.
Outside of prison, did you ever have any drug treatment?
Yes, sir.
Where did you go and what did you do?
Well, I went to this program, but it only lasts for like about 2 months.
Okay, and when was that?
And 90, I think it was 94, 95, somewhere
Okay.
within that time.
And why did you go to that program? How did you get in that program? Was it a court-ordered program or did you just go?
I just went myself, sir. I was
Okay,
seeking
and
help.
why did you go?
Because I was seeking help, sir. I know I had a drug problem, as
Okay.
well as an anger problem.
Okay, so you went in for both anger and drugs.
Yes, sir.
And how long did that last?
Well, just the night that the event occurred, sir.
So what did you learn in treatment that you couldn't put to use the night this happened?
Well, I really didn't stay in treatment that long because I got put out.
Why did you get put out?
Because I couldn't keep going to the treatment center. I didn't have a ride.
So you didn't finish the program.
Right, yes, sir.
So tell me the programs you've taken in prison having to do with drugs.
I've taken substance abuse, Alcoholic Anonymous, and group therapy.
Okay. Now, do you drink as well as take drugs?
Yes, sir. I was on the street.
Okay. So when you get out, let's assume you're going to be getting out at some point. What are you going to do, or what sort of tools do you have that when things get bad, you lose your job, you lose transportation, that you don't go back to using drugs? How are you going to stop yourself from going back to using drugs?
My plan, sir, is to continue treatment when I hit the street.
What do you mean continued treatment? What kind of, what does that look like, continuing treatment?
Well, make sure that I gotta get a sponsor.
Okay.
That keep me, that are monitoring.
Okay. When you say continue treatment, you mean like go to AA meetings and go to meetings and get a sponsor and have a support system like that?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I mean, sir.
Are you familiar with the 12-step program? Is that what you're talking about, hoping to work?
Yes, sir.
Now, I noticed, I think it's just a misprint, so I'm going to ask you. I read your psychological report by Dr. Ard, and she suggested that you had a write-up for refusing to take a urine test in 2020, but I believe that was a misprint, and that should have been 2008. Have you had any recent disciplinary write-ups in 2020?
No, sir. I haven't had one since 2008.
So you've had the 3, and one of those was for failing to take a urine test, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Noel, how are you this afternoon?
Fine, son. Yourself.
Good. What kind of family life you would say you had growing up?
I had a real lovely lifestyle. I wasn't raised the way that I'd respond. I had a loving mother, father, brothers, sisters. I come up in a good home, sir.
Good home, no family violence or anything?
No, sir.
Good. What grade did you finish in high school?
10th grade.
Okay. Have you gotten your GED while incarcerated?
No, sir.
Have you tried to get it?
Yes, sir.
What happened?
Well, I couldn't keep up with the grades, and here they got a program. If you don't keep up with the class, they kick you out for a woman, And as you can see in my portfolio, I had just reapplied for school, but I was put on backlog.
Okay. Have you ever had a mental evaluation?
Yes, sir.
And when was that?
That's right before I got arrested.
Court ordered or?
No, well, yes, sir. It had to have been a court order because it was dealing during the trial.
Yeah, during the trial. And what did they diagnose you with? Anything?
Yeah, they said I was depressive.
Put you on any kind of medication?
Yes, sir.
Are you still on it?
No, sir.
Who took you off it?
I guess the pharmacist, I guess the doctors here. I was on Prozac.
You was on Prozac when you came to prison?
Yes, sir.
Did it help you?
Yes, sir.
But somewhere along the line, the doctor took you off it, or just the prison took it off you? Took you off it?
I really couldn't tell you that, sir. I have no answer to that. All I know is I was getting the treatment and I no longer get it.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. So we'd like to hear from the folks who are here to speak in favor. Could we hear from Mr. Justin Noel, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Justin. I'm Floyd's nephew, and I'm speaking on behalf of my uncle. And first and foremost, I want to apologize from family because what my uncle done was devastating to all of us involved. My Aunt Brenda wasn't just a random woman that he committed this violent act against, but she was family. And for myself standing here, vouching for my uncle, it took years of me going to that prison to realize that he's been holding himself accountable. I see Keela, the girls who lost their mother, being a man who lost my own mother, not to violence, but to, early sickness. I understand growing up without a parent. So Floyd had to prove himself to me as being accountable for his actions as a man. So I stand here before you guys asking to hold mercy over him. I've been with him throughout this 22-year journey, bringing my grandmother, which is his mother, up to that prison, phone calls, whatever it took to be a support system. Floyd has grown a lot from that instances that you guys spoke about, early anger management problems. I witnessed some of those acts where he committed these crimes of violence. But I can tell you over the last 10 years, he's grown as a man, as a person, and back to the guy that I consider the father figure, because he was the only father figure I had growing up. So prison has changed him for the better. And I just ask that, Keela, Kayla, Tanya, seek you guys' heart to forgive him, because he's truly sorry for what he's done. And I can see that firsthand because I was there from the denial stages to here today where he's truly hold himself accountable for his actions on that Memorial weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Noel. We appreciate your input. Thank you so much. Mr. Floyd Simon,
Yes, ma'am.
we'd like
Yes,
to hear
ma'am.
from
My
you.
name is Floyd Simon, and Floyd is my dad. My dad, he's a great dad. He showed us, me and my little brother, how to play sports. He had us in sports and all that. And our stepsisters, he's a good father figure to all of us, to my stepsisters too. He just made a bad decision in his life, and I wish he could change. I wish we could have changed it, man. And I can't really talk, man.
That's okay. We appreciate you taking the time to spend with us and offering a few remarks. Thank you. So I think
I apologize. My mother
okay.
had to stop him from killing a man with a bat because he was They, Kayla and Tanya, the victims, don't believe that either. They express their fear all the time. They express their fear. I hold out to them. They've lost their mother. They've lost their grandmother. Their grandfather committed suicide in 2014. Their grandfather introduced them, Brenda's dad, introduced Brenda and Floyd together. And he committed suicide because all those years of knowing that this man broke into his house and stole his weapon to kill his daughter, and he got so bad to work anymore. He decided in 2014. And I don't think it's going to come out and not wreak havoc on the community.
Thank you, Ms. Mraz. We appreciate you speaking on behalf of the family. Thank you. We appreciate you being here today. Mr. Noel, is there something you'd like to say before we reach a decision?
Yes, ma'am. There's no right word for my actions. I made a poor decision that night. And I'd like to apologize to the family for taking Brenda's life. I no longer hold ill will against the family for the way they feel towards me. But I know what I have done. I have hurt families, and I really want to say that I'm sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Wise, your microphone's on mute.
We go into executive session.
We have a motion for executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jones. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Marabella,
Yes.
Ms. Benazzo,
Yes.
Mr. Roche,
Yes.
and Mr. Wise.
Yes.
So we'll be in executive session to discuss confidential matters. Stand by. We'll be right back with you. All right. It looks like everybody is back in the room. So we are back in regular session and the board is prepared to vote. We'll start with Mr. Wise.
Yes, ma'am. At this time, I'm going to be voting. I'm going to vote to deny today. And the reason I'm voting to deny because of the time that you've got served so far. I think you've done good. And there's some programs you need to take. You have a very strong victims opposition, also law enforcement opposition against your release. But I am saying this to the victim. It's coming a time where he will be getting out. And, nowadays, but I just want to let you know that. But today, my vote is to deny. All right, Mr. Noel, go in there and do as many classes as you can. I don't know what the vote will be, but if it's denied, you be sure and take as much stuff as you can.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. Mr. Roche?
Mr. Noel, based on insufficient time served, express opposition from the victims and law enforcement, and a history of violence, my vote is to deny your request.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Mr. Marabella?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Noel, I agree with my colleagues. I want to encourage you to continue to do well. You're working hard, and that's a good thing. But I agree with my colleagues. Right now, I'm just not in a position to vote in favor of your release, or at least of your request. But if you continue to work hard, and I'm still on this board the next time you come before, it's likely I might change my mind. But today, my vote is to deny.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Noel, first I want to commend you for doing a good job, making the best out of a bad situation where you are. I think you may need to get back with the nursing staff or somebody to get that mental eval again and see if you need to be back on that medication. But my vote today be to deny for the same reasons that's been stated.
Thank you, sir.
So, Mr. Noel, you've received 4 votes to deny your clemency application. So that is the outcome of today's proceedings. And I think everyone has encouraged you to reapply when you're eligible to do so. Stay on the same path that you're on. I just want to commend you for your excellent conduct record. Good
Thank
luck
you.
to you, sir. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
I no longer feel ill will for how the family feels against me. Are you kidding me? Like, did I really just see him say that? That's his finishing speech. He doesn't feel ill will for the family. He killed their mother, their daughter. He destroyed their lives, but he doesn't feel ill will about how they feel about him doing that. It's just insane. And then to add the insult to injury, Jim Wise, of course, he goes and tells the survivor, the victims, like, he's gonna have to get out. He's gonna get out one day. You're gonna have to get used to that. Not today, but he's gonna get out. It's like, why? Why is he gonna get out? He went into the home, killed his ex-wife or estranged wife in a rage, got a life sentence. Why should he get out one day? I don't have any records on this. There's nothing on it. I don't know. Maybe he just took a plea deal. So there's no appeals. There's no information. But it's just another classic ridiculous hearing. If you're wondering why the victim was cut off when she was talking about what had happened, the daughter of the victim, it's because when she spoke, the entire time, except for like a few words, was broken. It was like you couldn't hear anything. It was like Jim Wise's internet connection, but 10 times worse. And believe it or not, the parole board, I mean, I guess believe it, they said nothing. They didn't say we can't hear you. They didn't say, you're blurry, maybe you should call in again. They just let her go and go and go. So I had to edit it down to just a few points that you can hear her. One of the points right where it starts, where she says sorry, is because Mr. Natsa said, you have to talk to us. Although I don't know how Mr. Natsa even heard that she wasn't talking to them, because I couldn't hear anything, but I don't know. They didn't get into the details when you have Jim Wise, who is his case. He's going to do the interview. He's like, it's like you're estranged from you're not living together. She's allowed to see other people, and then he says in the same sentence, so the next day passed, I took some drugs. I can't blame it on the drugs though. And then I went in there, and you hear that the terror of it, that he went into his former father-in-law's house, stole his weapon to kill his daughter, and that hurt him so much he took his own life. And in front of the kids, you do something like that in front of your own kids. It's just, see, there's crimes of passion. There's crimes of this doesn't check those boxes of crimes of passion. He didn't see his wife with another man, and he had a weapon and he lost it. He was estranged. She's allowed to do what she wants, in my understanding of the situation. Anyways, he sees her, even if they weren't, he sees her the night before. It's the following day that he gets a weapon, and then in front of his kids. See, this is what makes it the worst of, this scenario where this person can't get out. It's like where their anger is so strong, where their rage and narcissism is, so they don't care about anything but themselves. The point of destroying her. You can't have someone like that out in the public. It's just a danger, in my opinion. But I don't have any other information to share. And with that, I'll let you go, or we'll move to the next.
Classified as a fourth felony offender. Offenses: forgery, armed robbery, simple escape type 1, simple burglary. Sentencing dates are May 28th, 1997, May 8th, 2003, and December 20th, 2002. Sentenced to a total of 66.5 years. Parole date, June 3rd, 2022. Good time, March 5th, 2056. full term, August 5th, 2066. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson.
Good morning, Mr. Lotz. My name is Bonnie Jackson. Your case has been assigned to me, so I will start the questioning. I just want you to relax, and we'll talk about some things. Are you looking up at the camera, Mr. Lotz? Is it above you?
Yes.
No, ma'am, it's right in front of Ms. Jackson. We can move it.
Yeah, would you adjust it downward a little bit so he's not looking up in the air and looking more straight forward? Okay, that's better. Thank you. You're 50 years old, Mr. Lotz?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you finished your sentences on the escape and the forgery?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
So you're just serving out the armed robbery sentence right now, is that correct?
Yes.
How long have you been in jail on the armed robbery?
20 years.
20 years? Is that 20 years after you completed the other sentences or just 20 years total?
20 years after.
All right. So how long have you been in prison altogether?
On this sentence here, since 2002, on this sentence here.
Okay.
An armed robbery.
All right. I show that you've lost quite a bit of good time. You lost 450 days of good time, and you had 70 days of those restored. Is that correct?
Yes.
270, Ms. Jackson.
I'm sorry, I meant 270 days restored. And we'll talk about that a little bit. You're classified as a third offender. You had an attempted arson and aggravated oral sexual battery, and both of those cases were revoked. Either your probation or your parole was revoked. And you were released twice on good time supervision, once in, well, actually twice in 2002. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
How long have you been at David Wade?
Since 2003.
Okay. And what's your job at David Wade?
North kitchen cook.
And how long have you been a cook?
Oh, about 14 years.
So you've been a cook the whole time you've been at David Wade?
No, I've been to school, VOTEC. That's about it. School, VOTEC in the kitchen.
Well, what kind of VOTEC classes have you taken, Mr. Lotz?
I took automotive until they closed it down, and I took carpentry until.
Carpentry and automotive?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have certifications in both of those programs?
No, the automotive has closed down, and VOTEC carpentry closed down because the instructor had retired, and I had like 11 hours to finish before I graduated.
So you don't have your certifications in either of those programs?
Oh, ma'am, I don't.
Okay. Well, what other kind of programs have you taken? I see you completed Cage Your Rage this year. Have you completed Living in Balance?
Just waiting on the certificate for Living in Balance. I have like a couple more papers for victim awareness on them.
When did you first start taking programs?
I started taking, well, I started back when I went to school in 2010, when I went to school. And I started taking self-help programs like Core Base, Kairos. I went through that, and I was on the waiting list for substance abuse classes.
Well, have you taken any substance abuse classes?
The only class that I've taken is club-like classes like JC's,
Yeah,
HR.
that's not really substance abuse classes, though.
Well, I just on the wait list for the ones that we have here.
But Mr. Lodge, you've been incarcerated for over 20 years. I don't understand why it's only been recently that you've tried to get in these programs. You've had opportunities, a way to get into programs, and you didn't do that. Can you explain to us why you have so few programs completed?
Yes, because when you serve a long term here at Wade, you really put on a backlog list before you can get into classes. And I was serving 66 and a half years, and I was always on the backlog list.
All right.
Just to my
Mr. Jackson, he did graduate from the core-based program, which deals with chemical dependency, alcohol and drug abuse, and that was back in 2013. He was a graduate of the core-based program in 2013. He's currently enrolled and living in balance. He's completed phase 1, and he's not quite through with phase 2.
Not done with phase 2 yet? All right. Well, have you taken victim awareness?
Yes.
Have you completed that?
I'm on level 22.
So you're currently enrolled in it, but you haven't completed it yet. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, I haven't completed it.
What about anger management?
Yes, I have.
When did you complete anger management?
I have no my certificate. December the 27th.
Of 21?
21.
So let's talk about your disciplinary record. I show that you've had 42 write-ups. And when was the last one? You remember?
If I'm correct, it's August of 14 or 13, 1 to 2.
August 31st, 2013?
Yeah.
And that was for fighting, is that correct?
Yeah.
What was that about?
Well, someone had took something from me and I didn't agree with it and we fought.
But that was before you took anger management, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long have you been involved with the JCs?
I've been involved with the JC since 2018.
And what do you do with the JCs? What do you get out of that program being participant with the JCs?
By this being my second time in JCs, I learned that JCs help the communities, help a lot of communities out there, and that's something that I'm striving to do.
Or have you done any community service work while you've been incarcerated?
The only thing that I have done when I was in carpentry, I built a lot of things for churches, street signs and stuff like that. That's the only help that I could provide for them while I'm incarcerated.
Don't they have clubs and organizations in prison where you could help fellow inmates?
Yes, like HRC and Helpers Group, I was go out on the compound, pass out pamphlets, stuff, trying to get younger fellows to join, come in and learn what I was learning.
And what is HRC?
HRC is dealing with, different laws and stuff like that, those who was illiterate to the law, and I was trying to help them out a little bit, show them the right way, because before I came in, I was lost. A lot of guys was showing me, this is the right way, and I fell into it because I had to better myself.
When these crimes were occurring in the early 2000s and the late 90s, were you using drugs or alcohol? What was the reason that you were involved in these crimes? You were passing forged checks from a construction company that you worked for at a store, and then you went back and you robbed the same store. So what was going on with you back then that you were committing these crimes?
Well, I was young and I was stupid, and I just wanted to be down doing anything, and I needed money. So
But you had a job with the construction company.
I was doing drugs, and
Well, what kind of drugs were you doing?
I was smoking weed, I was doing cocaine, and my life just changed for the worse.
Okay. And tell me, so you haven't done a whole lot of substance abuse programs. And what about NA or AA? I think you can get in that, whether there's a backlog or not. You can get in NA and AA. Did you do that?
Yes, I tried NAAA, and I said the only way that I could rehabilitate myself from drugs was to stop using drugs. And
Well, but Mr. Glott, if you could just stop using drugs, everybody would be rehabilitated from drugs. You can't just decide you're going to stop and all of a sudden that urge is going to go away. Did you ever actually enroll in NA? I mean, did you start participating in NA and AA meetings while you've been incarcerated?
Yes, I have.
When did you go to those meetings, and for how long were you involved in NA and AA?
I stayed in them about 5 months.
Why'd you stop going?
Well, I started back working in the kitchen, and like the yard would close early. Sometimes we would have it, sometimes we would not, and I just stopped going.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think was more important, working on your sobriety or working in the kitchen? Which one was going to help you most in the long run?
Going to my meetings.
But you chose not to do that.
Yes, ma'am, I didn't.
And see, that's what happens to a lot of people who are addicted to drugs. They think all they got to do is get out and get a job and work and, be with family and everything's going to be all right. But the reality is that you're going to relapse unless you have a strong foundation in understanding your addiction and what it takes to overcome it. And I don't know if just going to meetings occasionally for 5 months is going to give you what you need. Warren, what can you tell us about Mr. Lotz?
Well, Donald's been here, he's been here waiting a pretty good while now, Ms. Jackson. He came back in 2002, and since that time, he got his GED. He mentioned, I think he got that in 2013, maybe 2010. 2010. And I've looked at his write-ups. He had a lot of write-ups prior to that time, and you notice his write-ups kind of quit around 2013. He did get involved in something like the Human Relations Club, JC's. He's got a lot of time. I think his rap sheet goes, his good time days 2050 something. So other people would have been prioritized ahead of him, people with less time, but for those specific substance abuse programs and other things you spoke about. But he took the core base program, and he was involved in the carpentry program. he just hit it at the wrong time because it did close down due to budget cuts. Northwest Technical College pulled out, and he was close to graduating. He's currently enrolled in Living in Balance Phase 2. He's finished the victim awareness program. He has not completed reentry or the pre-release programming yet. But I think Donald's done very well since 2013. Over the last 8-9 years, he's done very well, as reflected by his disciplinary record, and he does participate in the programs that were available to him. I agree, he probably does need to complete the pre-release program, and he probably needs to focus on some substance abuse issues maybe. But overall, he's done very well over the last several years without even knowing Act 122 would benefit him at some time. So he made a turn around 2011, 2012. He matured, and he started doing good time. Prior to that, he got a lot of write-ups. He lost 500 days of good time, but he's had, like I say, half of that's been restored to him. He'll probably get the rest of that back as well at some point down the road. I gave him half of it of his first request, and so anyway, I think he's doing all the right things at this point, Ms. Jackson, and he's working hard to not reoffend if he's given the opportunity to be released.
All right. Well, thank you, Warden. I appreciate your comments. Mr. Wise, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. At this time, I see there's a speaker here today. If you would unmute your mic and state your name.
Donald Loss 132944.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just here to support my dad. I feel like he has been through a lot and he knows his mistakes. He knows his wrong. It's no point of, study bringing up old ones. If he did his best to try to close them, I have seen the change in my dad. He has built a better relationship with me, even through a phone call or through a video visit. He has really changed today. Our relationship has gotten a lot better. We are close, but to say we can't see each other and we can't interact with each other, but me and my dad relationship is close. We talk about everything spiritually wise. His relationship with God has gotten better. I see a lot of him that has changed versus when he was younger, how immature and childish he might have been. He's very wise. He even keep me on the straight and narrow. And it might seem crazy, but he does. He keep me on the straight and narrow because I could be hot-headed sometimes, but my dad has changed me for a better me. So if he can change me, I know he can change himself.
Okay, ma'am, is someone else gonna be speaking?
Yeah, his sister and his nephew.
Okay.
T, you there? Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes. Hello?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Yes, and I'm just on the same thing she's saying. You have to become very spiritual change because like nobody is this to nobody. But we talk about everything, you always ask about the really has changed so yes, it's a great guy. Loves his daughter. He has family out here in Las Vegas that's doing real good. They do some, they want to see him. He has a lot of great nieces and nephews. They love him. They talk with him. Communicate a lot. So yes, he has changed. I don't like suffering when he's 50 years old. But he's good to get into soon. So I think he's really not bad. He's really a great guy. So having a hard time, we all had hard time. That I left. I left them down. I left because it was, if I probably would have been in the same position as him, but I left them down there for all the bad things. And I can't see. I'm not saying that the city is better than the country, but I needed to change and it was better for myself. So if you have problems down there, you feel like you can't, control yourself and do better to come here. He has a place to stay. And they also have a place out here in Vegas where they help families. They help them get a job. They get good jobs like construction workers,
Okay. Thank y'all very much for the speakers there today. Mr. Donald Lott, if you would mute your mic, ma'am. This time, Donald, anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
Yes, I would like to thank you for having me, for viewing me. You know, I know I didn't, you know, I wasn't prepared to come in and speak because I had never been in front of the board before like this. I just wanted this board to see what I seen. See that I'm a changed man. You know, I was immature when I first came in, but I learned a lot since I've been in here. You know, going through different things. I got education, things I didn't have when I first come to prison. 20 years later, I'm better. And I know I can do better once I get a chance, if you allow me a chance.
Okay, thank you very much. This time, Ms. Jackson. Be voting.
So I'd like to commend you. I think you have worked hard over the last 9 or 10 years. You lost an awful lot of good time, but you got half of it restored back, and the warden thinks you'll eventually get it all back. But I think you're close, but you're not quite there yet. I think there's some more things you need to do. You need to complete both phases of living in balance. You need to complete the 100 hours of pre-release, and you need to have some more substance abuse programming. And if you can't get into a structured program, you can at least do AA and NA and attend that faithfully. You know, our goal is not just to let you out, but it's to make sure you're equipped to stay out. And I don't think that you quite understand your need for continual vigilance as far as your alcohol and drug use is concerned. AA and NA needs to be a part of your life forever, because you're going to always have those urges. But I think you've made a lot of progress. I think you've done well over the last 9 or 10 years. So my vote today is going to be to deny because you haven't completed those programs. But I want you to keep working, and I want you to reapply when you're eligible. And if you have those programs completed, then I think you'll get a different outcome than you're getting from me today. And I'm just one vote, but I want to encourage you to keep working hard. You're on the right path. You're making some good progress. Don't mess up, by being disappointed and then going and doing something to get it right up. I want you to just keep working at it. And the next time you're eligible to apply, and I think you'll get a different result.
Mr. Roche?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lott, I'm in full agreement with Mrs. Jackson. You're almost there. You have a ways to go. I think the most important thing for you is to get the additional substance abuse treatment. Programs are good, but talk to Warden Goodwin. I know Warden Goodwin has resources. We need you to get into those substance abuse treatment programs. As Mrs. Jackson said, our main objective is to release you when you are ready so that you can remain free for the rest of your life. You're not quite there, so I'm going to agree with Ms. Jackson and deny your request this afternoon.
At this time, I'm going to tell you a third-class offender. I'm going to tell you, Donald, you're right there. You're right there where you need to be. Just keep working hard. Do not get no more write-ups. Today, my vote is going to be the same. I vote to deny because of the same reason stated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I really don't have much to add to this. There's no, information that I can share except, like Richard had pointed this out in the notes that he has that that sex offense that he committed quite some time ago. He's a tier 3 sex offender, aggravated oral sexual battery in 1995. His victim was a juvenile victim, so there's no love loss for this, for this inmate. I thought it was funny when Miss Jackson was talking about the fight, and she's like, "Oh, well, that was before you had anger management," and he like laughs. Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. In my mind, I'm just thinking he's laughing at the ridiculousness of the whole program idea. That programs, yeah, I took anger management, and now I'm cured. I'm cured of all the reasons I'm here in prison because I took a program. It really is funny. I mean, when you think about it, it's what percentage of people do you actually think? It's a very small percentage of people that can even take any type of class, I think. And if you can gain something from that and adopt it to your everyday life, that's incredible. But it's got to be a very small, how many classes I've taken, how often has it actually changed my life? I don't know if I can even count. I mean, anything that that involves change is constant work. You're constantly working on that. And it's not like you just take one program. You'd have to be taking the programs all the time, in my opinion. If you have an innate anger problem, you're not just going to take a program and you're cured. It's something you're going to have to do all the time. So the whole thing's a joke. We've been through this a million times. I don't need to beat the horse to death. It's like, it's all a money scheme. It's really all it is. It's there's a lot of people making a lot of money from these programs. But it is what it is. If he comes up for parole again, we'll cover it. This was taken in 2022. So it was actually February 15, 2022. So from the time of this recording, almost exactly 2 years ago. So he might be up sometime soon. It was funny how Mr. Wise was like, you're exactly where you need to be, sir. You're exactly where you need to be. I wish I had more to share with you on this, but I don't. So with that, I'll let you go or move to the next hearing. I'm not sure how I'm going to play this one out.
Third felony offender. All offenses: aggravated battery, forcible rape, 2 counts. Sentencing dates are January 22nd, 1997, revoked March 27th, 2001, and February 21st, 2002. Sentenced to a total of 82 years, 1 month, 12 days. Parole date, August 1st, 2021. Good time, May 18, 2080. Full term, June 7th, 2081. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Kelsey.
Mr. Gray, how old are you?
50.
How long you been incarcerated?
21 years this March.
On an 82-year sentence?
No. Yes, sir. On an 82-year sentence.
Have you taken any sex offender treatment?
Yes, sir.
You've taken all 4 phases of sex offender treatment?
No, sir.
Have you I don't see where you've taken any sex offender treatment classes. Have you taken any?
No, from what you say on the paper, no.
Well, I'm asking you, have you taken any I'm asking you.
Oh, yes, sir. I went to the 100 hours, the sex offense program and everything. I signed up for the sex offense program when I first come here.
Because I see you've taken some classes. I just don't see sex offender treatment.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm at, what'd you learn? If you took it, tell me about how many phases was it?
I only went to the classes, you know, one time. And I learned that to be honest with you, sir, dealing with my charges and everything, I committed the crime.
Right.
And everything. And my point is, I'm trying my best. I rehabilitated myself to a point to where I would not commit another crime here in Louisiana or no other state.
Okay, well, tell me, I'll be honest with you, you know, we can talk, but what concerns me is the fact you got to write up in 21, you got to write up in 20, you got to write up in 19, and 19, and 19, and 18, you got 86 write-ups. I mean, you're telling me you're rehabilitated, but look like it on paper. I mean, what's up with that?
Yeah. At the time I was in the shower area at this time, and I did masturbate in the shower, and I did have a few masturbation in the cells.
Right. Those are all, I mean, that's a problem. All those are problems. Plus 21, you had a just in 6 of 8 of 21. You had a defiance, a disrespect.
Well, with the 21, I never, that was Miss Ricks, Miss Jackie Ricks. I never told that woman anything about no sex offense. I did aggravate her and curse her out and things, but I never told Miss Ricks anything about it.
Okay. All right, I don't have any further questions. Warden, you got any comments you'd like to make?
I'm looking on his sex offender treatment. It shows on our records that he's on a waiting list, and looking back at his record, he has spent some time over the years here in cell block, and that would keep him on a waiting list. That's
Gotcha.
Pretty much where we are with that.
Makes sense. Yes, sir. All right. Would you like to make a statement on your behalf, Mr. Gray?
On my behalf, the statement is, but I have bettered myself and I continue to better myself. Now, if you keep me here any longer, I'll continue to improve myself while I'm here. Disciplinary reports, I would not condone to no disciplinary reports while I'm here. That's where I'm on the way I am now, sir.
Okay, so it sounds like you kind of made a little change in your mind. Okay, go ahead.
In my
Panel
heart,
prepared to
too.
vote. Yeah, panel prepared to vote. I'll go ahead and vote. Listen, I'm gonna vote to deny you parole today. You got a lot of write-ups. Sounds like that you changing your mindset. So maybe you can get your mind right and get no more write-ups. You can maybe try to get right so you'll have an opportunity to get sex offender treatment because you need it. You need it before you're gonna be able to ever get out there. But my vote is to deny. You got all kind of opposition, poor supervision. You have your third class offender, poor institutional record. Okay, Ms. Pearl Wise.
Sir, I'm glad to hear what you're saying, and I want to encourage you to continue to try to avoid write-ups and do like you said.
Yes,
I do want to put on the record, just so you know, your first victim that you hit over the head, her medical cost was over $10,000, and she's still impacted by those injuries. I just want you to know that. But my vote is to deny as well for the reasons already been stated on the record. But keep doing good. Start doing good.
Mr. Jim Wise, go ahead.
Apologize to the victim too.
Okay. All right. Okay. Mr. Jim Wise, let him vote.
At this time, my vote is to deny your parole on the same reason Mr. Kelsey and Ms. Pearl did. Let me tell you something. There's some things you got to do. You got to get this. You got to get this under control so you can get out of here. You'll never get out of here doing some of the things you do. You understand? Thank
you. Yes, sir.
All right, you have 3 votes to deny today. Your parole's been denied. Good luck to you.
All right.
You know what kind of hole you gotta climb out of, right?
Yes, sir.
What kind of hole you gotta climb out of?
I think he's meant to say he's got to climb out of a big hole. That wait till I go over the information with you. You may be happy to hear that, or he may feel that he shouldn't climb out of that big hole. I don't know if you caught Miss Wise there at the beginning where she said his first victim. This guy was a serial offender. Just the amount of times that he got caught. And it is disturbing to think that you hear, was it Jim Wise say, you got to get your act together so you can get paroled. And it's like, no, certain people should not get paroled. And we'll go over the facts of this case as to why I think this man shouldn't get paroled. But first, I just want to start by I avoid these Jim Wise, Miss Wise, and Brennan Kelsey parole board because they're just awful. I mean, the three of them combined are my worst nightmare. Can you imagine if we had a parole board that was set up with these three and this is all we got? I mean, it would be useless. They literally took a hearing of a man who was a serial predator and turned the whole thing into about 5 minutes of nothing. What did you not what did he do? Not why did he do it? Not nothing. And you might say, well, they knew that they were going to deny him anyway. So who cares about the victims? Who cares about any of it? And I don't know. We don't know what stress and anxiety even this parole hearing put the victims through. And it's a 2080 good time date. But because of Act 122, he gets to come out on parole. So let's go over what he did, the many different things that he did. So the background. Defendant was originally charged with 2 counts of aggravated sexual assault, each of which carries a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment at hard labor without benefits. And he was agreed to defendant. They got him as an habitual offender, attempting aggravated sexual assault 50 years, and simple robbery 7 years, kidnapping 25 years. The district court imposed consecutive sentences of 40 years on each charge and denied a timely motion of reconsideration. So now the facts. He was basically appealing, saying the sentences were too long. On January 9, 2001, the defendant attacked A.S. at a washateria in Monroe. Defendant forced this female victim into a bathroom where he had non-consensual intercourse with her after threatening to break her neck if she did not comply. After the assault, the defendant took $8. Wow, an $8 score in sexual assault in 2001. 2 weeks later, on January 23rd, 2001, the defendant attacked JR at the same location. So it's a different woman, but same location. I don't know. He forced her to the bathroom, threatened to break her neck, and kill her if she resisted, removed her clothing, and again assaulted her. Defendant took cash and a cellular phone from JR and threatened to kill her if she left the bathroom within 45 minutes. The defendant was contacted by police 2 weeks later in the vicinity of the same area, washateria. He denied any participation in the assaults, but consented to give a blood sample. 2 weeks after the police contact, a third female was victimized by an attempted sexual assault on February 20th, 2001. This is the man that they said, I hope you get parole. We need to get you parole. Not to mention all the sexual write-ups while in prison, in the shower, in the dorm room. And these are not write-ups that many prisoners get. It tends to be write-ups of folks who do these type of offenses. It's not a coincidence. This lady later positively testified her assailant. The defendant was arrested on the date of his identification by the third victim on March 2001. On March 30th, 2001, the defendant's DNA was found to match samples obtained by AS and JR, the 2 assault victims. A grand jury returned an indictment against the defendant on 2 counts of aggravated sexual assault. As the third victim, the defendant was charged with attempted simple kidnapping and simple robbery. The charges relating to the third victim carried a potential exposure of 82 years by themselves. They were dismissed as part of the plea bargain, and shame on them for dismissing it as part of the plea bargain because she went through something. And I'm not willing to take a leap of faith and say that, oh, she wanted it. They told her, don't worry, we'll get him for 80 years. You don't need to worry about it. You don't want to testify, right? No, they didn't want to deal with it. They had DNA for 2, and they just said, here's a plea deal. But, concerning the defendant's complaint, and you're saying, how's it possible he's getting out for parole? Well, that's Act 122. So, concerning the defendant's complaint that these 2 40-year sentences should not be served consecutively, we must review the acceptance of the law. So, he's saying, well, it should have only been 40 years. Can't make it conservative. So, the PSI says that the defendant was 31 at the time. Let's consider his social history, they say. So, failure to complete high school, sporadic work history, lengthy criminal record, including 45 arrests as an adult. 3 most being crimes against person, including simple aggravated batteries, resisting officers, and beating women, and often involving the use of weapons. 45 arrests. 45. These aren't simple arrests like, breaking into an uninhabited dwelling. These are violent crimes. The trial court reviewed the facts of this case and noted the defendant's bogus and preposterous claims that the victim had come onto him. Yes, of course that's what happened. Evidence which clearly indicated the defendant was guilty of aggravated sexual assault, a plea bargain which had drastically reduced his sentencing exposure. Why would they give him a plea bargain? I have no idea. I guess they figured, oh, it's 80 years, he's gone, No one knew that the Parole Project would write and then lobby to pass legislation that would let people out early. All they have to do is to serve 20 years of their sentence and be over the age of 45, and voila, repeat offender can get paroled. Vicious and cowardly conduct manifested by calculated, deliberate cruelty to the victims, a risk of bodily harm, crime involving terrifying violence, which caused significant and permanent psychological injury to both victims, crimes with absolutely no provocation, and they only talked about 2 victims. It was 3. Heinous criminal conduct likely to occur. On this record, we do not find any error whatsoever. Defendants' crime were committed against separate helpless victims, utilizing the same general modus operandi on different dates without provocation or excuse. Under the circumstances, consecutive sentences are certainly appropriate. So, the defendant will not be eligible for parole until he completes 85% of his sentence, which makes it a virtual life sentence. Of course, we know because of Act 122 it was not. We also reject the defense contention with the district court's action is effectively the same if the defendant had been convicted of aggravated sexual assault. The argument ignores the fact that the sentences for 2 of them committed upon 2 different victims at 2 different times. To accept this defense argument, one would be required to take the position that multiple offenses committed at separate times do not merit enhanced punishment. It's interesting how we try to, I really like how this counter to his appeal was written. It's written by someone who seems as angry and upset about what he did as most of us are, versus just being very vanilla. It's very much written like, no, what he did was bad, okay? He deserves a sentence. One victim in a poignant. It's like these words that I know what they are, but until you read them, it's hard to read them. Poignant, well-written letter to the sentencing judge sadly wrote of living every day of her life with the humiliation, indignity, dishonor, and ignominy associated with being a sexual assault victim. She, in effect, asked that this man's horrendous savagery not be visited on other victims. I'm glad they brought up that letter. And it's really, this is the whole idea, in my opinion, the travesty of why these board members showed no respect for the survivors of his crime, in my opinion. Thank you, Richard, for providing the information. I'll put the links in the description. And with that, I'll let you go.